I feel it's funny because when that became a big part of the conversation, I was like, I've worked with tons of women, but I was like, oh, it's all in TV.
Yeah.
You know, watching that back, you would think in a scene that ended up being so emotional, you'd think you'd be like reaching for it, trying to cry. That's Saoirse and I trying not to cry the whole way through. Josie, our director, was so clever to not let us ever see each other, ever in character. And we went the whole film, I never saw her in character and vice versa until the moment where, you know, and our wonderful AD team, everyone was like bringing us through the back, you know, so we never crossed paths. And in that moment when they were rolling, it's the first time that we saw each other, the first time she saw me looking disfigured and, you know, with the wigs and blah, blah, blah. And it was like a punch in the guts. Like it was so emotional. And when Josie called cut, we were just like bawling our eyes out, like hanging on to each other, just like crying. It was really moving, and it was really one of those moments where you just lose yourself completely. And I forgot I was on a film set. I forgot we weren't those characters. It felt very real.
Talk a little bit about working with Josie, I think you were like nearly 20 films in, and you'd never been directed by a woman.
Well, I've been in a film,
in a feature film.
I was about to say. I feel it's funny because when that became a big part of the conversation, I was like, I've worked with tons of women, but I was like, oh, it's all in TV.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't such an uncommon. It was never a thing when I was on Neighbours, for example, whether you had a female or a male director. It was just your director. But yeah.
But does it make a difference? Did it make a difference?
No, I think, look, people are, every single director I work with has a totally different personality and different process. So I really couldn't put it down to gender as much as I just know them specifically as a person, so I know their kind of things. But no, because what I'd love to say is like Josie has a particular insight as a woman, blah, 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 and for sure she does. But then you do something like Bombshell with a male director, and he's like the most emotionally intuitive person I know. So I couldn't say that it didn't work better because he was a man, you know, and dealing with those specific topics. It's really down to the person, I think.
And she came from theatre. I mean, her main home is theatre.
Yes.
Did that make any difference, do you think?
Definitely in the rehearsal period too. The rehearsal period was phenomenal, and I guess because in film often it's kind of like, nah, you'll get there and then you start shooting and you don't get to rehearse. In most cases, you never get to rehearse. But rehearsal was you know, integral for Josie and built into the schedule. So we had tons of time to rehearse. The English court would rehearse and the Scottish court would, you know, and she'd do clever things like the English court, we'd always sit in a rectangle, around a rectangular table. The Scottish court would sit in a circular table. You know, it was all about like, she was like subliminally giving us hierarchies before we even noticed. Things like that I just loved.
Do you go back and, are you a big researcher?
Yeah.
What did you do? I mean, how much did you know about the feud between these two before the conflict between England and Scotland?
Not much at all. And I spent a lot of time actually with the historian, whose name escapes me right now, John? Anyways, and did a lot of research, which I love. It's kind of like one of the best gifts about this job is getting to really deep dive into something super specific, like a specific city in a particular year with a particular person, and then you just know that thing inside and out. So I loved getting to do something like this because, you know, it's a more, you know, a history that other people also know. Like I could tell you loads about exactly where Tonya grew up, and that won't be that interesting to some people. But yeah, for Queen Elizabeth, of course, those facts are a little more exciting to the general public.
And you talked about her being a disfigured character. All the press at the time was kind of like, Margot Robbie does ugly.
Yeah.
Like, was that a big challenge for you? I mean, that's a really different thing for you to do.
No, I loved it. I love the craft. I love watching every department do what they do. People are just so talented, and I love prosthetics makeup. I love it. I find it so fascinating. So yeah, no, when Jenny Shirker, very decorated hair and makeup artist here in England, was like, no, we're going to do this and this, and Josie really wanted to play up that. It was a part of the dynamic for the film. And in real life, yeah, Elizabeth, you know, Queen Elizabeth at this point in our life, actually had wooden teeth. So we didn't even go all out. I mean, there was more we could have done. But no, we lent into it for the sake of the story, because it's Mary, Queen of Scots. You know, it's Saoirse's character is kind of the one we're following, and it was appropriate for the dynamic we were meant to have to kind of play up Elizabeth's sickness and how it kind of made her feel inferior in more ways.